right, good morning, everyone. I would like to call the recommending committee meeting to order October 1st at 10 a.m. The item number 1 is call to order, which I just did. Item number 2 is compliance with the open meeting law, which we are, correct? All righty. Item number 3 is bill number 2018-43 for possible action, establishes a business licensing category and corresponding regulations for fish spas, sponsored by Councilwoman Fiore. Councilwoman Fiore, did you have a comment on that one?
I do. I'm just going to obey that for 30 days, so we'll just obey it and there'll be no discussion.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so the motion is to obey this for 30 days. What would be the date on that? Luann? Okay. So
No, November 5th?
November 5th recommending?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the motion is to obey this to November 5th recommending. Did anybody want to make a comment on that before we vote? So we'll just remember, if you're here to comment today, then just plan on coming back November 5th unless you want to make a comment today. You want to make a comment? Come on up. Yeah, if you want to make a comment, this is a public hearing, come on up.
That's kind of expensive, 3 guys.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Dr. Joey Adashek. I know Michelle. Hi, how are you? I'm immediate past president of Clark County Medical Society, and I postponed my office to come in today, so I'm sorry to waste your time, but I don't want to come back if that's possible.
That's okay.
So I'm here, I guess, as part of the public, just to discuss real quickly, and I have about 30 seconds about the fish pedicures, so I don't have to come back. But basically, there's no studies to show that it's safe, and I do have some paperwork that in Arizona, I guess the Board of Cosmetology was sued because they also denied allowing fish pedicures due to safety, and it was upheld in court, the denial. The reason is we just don't feel there's any way to totally make fish pedicures safe, and that's the problem that we have. And there's some case reports of people getting severe feet infections, not in this country, just because it's not done so much, but through other countries. And you guys love Las Vegas as much as I do. And I would hate for tourists to come and get foot massages and end up with severe feet infections and losing feet that has happened in other countries. And that's why I'm here to speak against the fish pedicures here in Las Vegas. And I have some stuff put out by the CDC on why they do not feel that it's safe either. It's kind of one of these things that's not proven that it is safe. Is my microphone on? Yes? Oh.
Yeah, can we have that?
Oh, sure, I'm sorry.
Can you make a copy of that for everybody on the city council? I'd like to read it too.
And it's not proven that it's not safe, it's just not proven that it is safe, and that's the problem. Sorry.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for coming. I secondly am kind of concerned because this has been out there for a while and my office has not received any requests to discuss this. I have not received any information that you, Dr. Adashek, whom I shadowed and adore, that had an issue with this. So I'm quite concerned that I'm hearing this firsthand. Secondly, that's why I obeyed it, because I'd like to talk about it. And I just want to make sure perfectly on the record that there is nothing that says it's not safe. And then the horrible stories that we hear from other countries about some woman's toes falling off, that wasn't from the fish pedicure. And it's very important that we put that on the record because she had an infection, and I don't want this leaking into a something that wasn't there. So again, on the record, there's nothing to say it's bad. On the record, my office wasn't asked to talk about this before this hearing. That's why I am obeying it, and I'd rather not have comment until we get through everything that we were going to talk about. So I appreciate you taking your busy scheduled time to be here. However, with there being absolutely no proven fact that this is a bad thing, and it's all over in other countries, and as I travel now I'm seeing it. It's quite safe. I would absolutely be open to sitting down with you and actually going through your real concerns, not hearsay or something that happened in another country that was proven not to be from the fish spa, but because the woman had a toe infection and not from the fish spa. So,
Well, I'm not saying that's where I based my research on. It was mostly from the Centers for Disease Control is where I did most of my research from. It wasn't from some of those case reports. That's why I could not sit here and say,
yeah, and I would
oh,
love
I'm
to
sure
see
it's
that.
not
Yeah,
safe.
and I would love to see that. And what's fair is fair is,
Okay.
you know, when there's an ordinance coming up and the sponsor puts an ordinance out, I would have really appreciated a phone call to my office, and I'll come to your office and discuss your concerns.
I'll come
But
to
to
you.
just do that right now without, you know, giving me a heads up that you had a problem with it, I
Okay.
don't appreciate that.
All right. Well, it is on the CDC website, so I cannot say I'm the biggest expert on.
No worries.
Fish
We will get to the
okay.
bottom of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming down.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Anybody else who wants to make a comment? Yeah, come on down, absolutely.
I like Joe. You like Joe.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and to my honorable two board members to your left and to your right. My name is Joe Iser. I'm the Chief Health Officer for the Southern Nevada Health District, and you know I did contact your office.
No, absolutely not. You did not, because my office actually went to your office because they heard you were concerned. So no, and I'm not hard to find, Dr. Eisner, so I just want to get the record straight here, because I do sit on the Southern Nevada Health District, and I actually reached out, and I've got all the emails to prove it, reached out to ask you guys, would you be open to regulate it? Nope, not interested. So for you to stand up here, and I know my staff asked you not to, and you agreed to. So for you to stand up here and say that you tried contacting my office, which you did not, we contacted you, hearing through the grapevine that you had an issue with it after another peer of mine came to you. Let me tell you, Dr. Eisner, I am not that peer that doesn't call a spade a spade. So if you want to discuss this, we can discuss it. I'm obeying it for 30 days to get all the kinks out of it. I don't appreciate how this is going down, so understand that I am not happy.
I understand that, and if I can speak.
Yes, go ahead and give your
I did
comment.
contact your office. It was me who contacted you. You were out of the country, and Dan came over to visit with me. Ask Dan if I didn't contact him.
Dan, come to the stand, please. I ain't playing with anybody. You come to the stand right now and you tell him what happened. I'm not playing.
I can't say that you did not contact me about something, but you did not contact me about this bill. I called Jackie and made an appointment to come see you because I was told by one of our city staff that you were going to be showing up here to testify, and I contacted Jackie and asked Jackie for an appointment, and she set it up, and I came down. The first thing I said, you asked me, you know why we're here, don't you? And I says, I have no idea why you're here, but I said, I know why I'm here. No one asked me or asked Michelle through our office for an appointment to go over this. Literally, I called Jackie and asked Jackie for an
Okay.
appointment.
All right, all right. Well,
I will tell you, Mr.
let's-
Chair,
hold on.
I did contact your
Hold on,
office.
Doctor, hold on, Doctor. So the who contacted who, I think we flushed that out. I don't know who contacted who. I'd just like to hear your opinion on this ordinance if you want to give it today.
I can, but I'm happy to come back on the 5th as well. I looked at my calendar, and I'm free on that day. But we're adamantly opposed to this. We fought this off twice in the Nevada State Legislature because of health and safety concerns for the same things that Dr. Adachek talked about. I did read through some of the verbatim reporting during the legislative session, and I think one of the proponents or one of the people who want to own one of these talked about that fish and humans are so far apart phylogenetically, meaning back when we evolved, that very few infections can infect humans. And he mentioned that there were 5 bacterial diseases. I would just ask each one of you to Google this, fish space, just a space, and the word zoonosis or zoonoses, Z-O-O.
Hold on, fish, space, and spell that?
Z-O-O-N-O-S-E-S. there are a variety of infections that fish can transmit to humans, that you can look through and go to some of those links and find some of those. There are maybe 12 or 13 bacterial species, there are parasites, there are a variety of other organisms that can be transmitted to humans through fish. So the basic premise that fish can't transmit infections to humans is just not true. We think that this is unsafe. I do have some prepared remarks, but I didn't have them printed off, but I'll email them to you,
That'd be
Mr.
great.
Stavros. And so we're adamantly opposed to this. We don't think that there's any way to safely go forward to protect, and this is my job. My one job here in Nevada is to protect our citizens and our visitors, for economic reasons as well as others, from infections and other concerns. That's my job, and that's why I'm here.
So this was introduced twice in the state legislature?
I believe it was introduced twice, and in fact, Dan gave me a copy of the verbatim testimony that occurred during the last one. I don't remember when that was, but I'm thinking it was 13. It could have been 15.
Okay.
But I'm not sure now.
It was in 17, and it was traded. It was a traded bill. It was in 2017 session. It was a traded bill. Yes, so, yeah, it wasn't in my sessions when I was up there. So I just want to set the record straight on all of that. And again, setting the record straight, as you say, fish can give people diseases. Humans give more diseases to other humans than anything, number one. Number two, again, in America, there is no proven disease caught by a human from a fish.
I am never going to
Now,
have
if you can-
unprotected pedicure. I don't care
You
what
can,
you say.
you
I
know,
will
you need
not
to do
this.
unprotected stuff.
Okay.
So, and Mr. Stavros, I'd be happy to talk to you directly. Ms. Fiore, I'm happy to talk to you. That's why I contacted your office, but you were out of the country and were unable to meet with me.
Yeah, that's great. We're going to meet.
That sounds good.
Okay, so again, November 5th, you'll be back?
I'll be
again?
back.
Okay, thank you for coming down.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else want to chime in at this point? Okay, so we have a motion to obey.
Wait. I'm sorry, I apologize. Mary, I need to ask you to come up to the stand, please. And I need you to speak about what the Southern Nevada Health District said about regulation on this bill, since we're discussing it.
For the record, Mary McElhone, Deputy Planning Director. So in January and February 2018, when we were asked to draft this bill, we actually contacted quite a different divisions and departments through the state and also locally. One of them was the Southern Nevada Health District. What we were told was that this was not part of their jurisdiction and that they were neutral on the subject. I also talked to Christopher Lynch, and he was the Director of Environmental Program at UNR. He told me he could not find anything relevant in the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection Regulations, nor those of the Southern Nevada Health District. He also made calls to the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services Office of Consumer Assistance, but they indicated they would not have any jurisdiction either, and referred him back to the Board of Cosmetology.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we have a motion to obey this November 5th recommending. Go ahead and vote on that, and then we'll hopefully have a full discussion at that meeting.
Hey, Michelle, is it okay if I argue with you?
And post, okay. Thank you all for coming down today. I hope you all come down November 5th so we can have a full hearing on this. So, thank you very much. All right, we are now going to item number 4. This is an abeyance item, Bill 2018-39, amends LVMC 19.10.160C to exempt signage within the Las Vegas Boulevard Scenic Byway Overlay District from the general limitations on animated signage that prohibit full motion video. So, is anybody from staff or somebody want to explain this this ordinance?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, yeah, hi.
Down here. So the bill before you today would make a slight change to the language in our sign code that prohibits full motion video. So we allow changeable message signs within the scenic byway currently. That's not a change. The change would be where a changeable message unit or where the LED boards are, that now within the scenic byway and only the scenic byway, instead of having a static image that must remain up there for a minimum of 6 seconds and then transition immediately to another static image, that within the scenic byway you would be able to have essentially full motion video. So again, instead of a PowerPoint, think of it as a commercial. That would be the difference in a PowerPoint slide to a 30-second commercial spot. It would be the change here. This does not allow anybody that currently doesn't have a sign or isn't otherwise entitled to ask for a changeable message unit sign to change out their signage. This simply would make that adjustment that if you have a changeable message unit sign, that you are no longer restricted to just static images if you are within the Las Vegas Scenic Byway.
So can you explain this 75% thing that's on page 2? The top of page 2, line 1, talks about at least 75% of the total sign surface areas for the development must be consistent of illuminated signage.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman, currently, our requirement for illumination within the scenic byway requires that any signage within the right-of-way, except for what's exempted for super graphics, has to include at least 75% of the total sign surface area that is developed, has to have illuminated signage, which means that is either animated signage, that means that it's neon sign, or some combination thereof. So it's been years ago now, we've allowed for that animated signage to include LED, sorry, I blanked on the term, but essentially that you can use as a part of your signage scheme, you can use those changeable message, those lit up, those LED signs as a part of that. None of that is new language, that's all existing language. The only part of the section, so when the bill was drafted, it includes all of the language in that section. The only piece of language that's new is actually on page 2, lines 11 through 13, that provide this exemption regarding the animated signs, which would allow for, essentially would allow the motion video. All these other requirements still stand. If any new sign were to come in, it's still going to be required to have that 75% illumination, and that illumination can consist of an animated sign or neon, or preferably a combination thereof if it's not neon.
Okay, so 11 through 13 is the only change to this ordinance. Everything else has been
Everything else is existing language that's already a requirement.
Gotcha. All right. Any questions of Mr. Summerfield at this point? Okay, public comment. Open it up for public comment.
You're first.
Whoever wants to go first.
Good morning, Councilman and Council Lady. I am Clay T. D. White. I'm the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. While the addition of fully animated signs along the scenic byway would enhance the nighttime scene, preservation of the existing historic neon signage is the priority of the Historic Preservation Commission. There are currently no protections in place for the existing neon signage. Instead, the city relies on the requirement that signage at any particular site consist of at least 75% neon animation and provides some visual improvement funding to encourage retention of it. Expanding the allowance of the LED screens to show video and the ever-lowering cost of technology could mean that this amendment results in incentivizing the removal of existing neon signage. Secondly, to further protect and preserve the existing neon signage and the character of the scenic byway, additional provisions could be added, such as discouraging the use of video screens on freestanding signs. This would encourage the use of neon in conjunction with video screens, which could be integrated into the architecture of the building to balance signage desires and urban designs. Finally, allowing fully animated LED signage throughout the entire scenic byway may have unintended negative impacts on adjacent residential subdivisions. Certain segments of the byway might be more suitable than others, such as 3 major intersections at Las Vegas Boulevard and Sahara, Charleston, and Fremont, with restrictions as to the distance this signage may extend in any direction of the said intersection. Just to summarize, so the Historic Preservation Commission wants to preserve existing historic neon signage as our major priority, and fully animated LED signage may be suited to the 3 major intersections more than any other, Sahara, Charleston, Fremont, with sensitivity to surrounding residential subdivisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question, Robert, staff. I was asked to introduce this bill by businesses along Las Vegas Boulevard, and it's been cooking for almost 2 years now, and I'm so glad to see it here. I apologize for missing the last meeting, Mr. Chairman, because I wasn't feeling well. But I think, as I understand this, it is permissive, so it's not going to hurt an existing business. I understand the concerns of those who want to preserve neon. Maybe some compromises can be made on how it is framed in conjunction with other forms of lighting. But I think when the ordinance was created and the intention was to preserve neon forever, it might not have been taken into account that it would be extremely expensive in the future as that technology passes away. So when Clay T. read a provision from the existing ordinance about incentives, what are the financial incentives we offer? Because I don't know of any that we offer to people to keep neon.
So, Mr. Chairman, through you, Councilman, I think she may be referring to the city has the visual improvement, the VIP program that EUD does in the redevelopment area. And so I think there's some incentive package there, not specific to retention of neon, but when you do a visual improvement of your property, you can apply for that. And oftentimes, we actually do see folks, particularly on the boulevard, when they make those applications, oftentimes that will include a contribution towards improving their signage,
Okay, so I
improving that
understand.
aspect. I don't think, we do not have in the ordinance, we do not have any incentive program or any funding mechanism specific to preservation of neon signage on private property. Of course, the city does fund through the Centennial Commission and through other efforts the preservation of the signage within the public right-of-way. So the Signs on Sticks program, where we take the historic signs and we put them in the medians and that type of thing. But we do not have, to my knowledge, a specific incentive for private property owners to maintain or to retain their neon signage on their private properties.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Hi.
Thank you. My name is Heidi Swank. I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada Preservation Foundation. First, I want to thank members of the committee and your staff for meeting with us over the last few months, weeks that we've been kind of working on this project. I just want to give a little bit of a background, if that's all right, just to tell you kind of why we're actually here working on this amendment. So over the last 4 years since Nevada Preservation got started, we've been working to promote the history of Las Vegas. We have a heritage tourism event called Home and History Las Vegas. And this past year, we had over 600 attendees to this 3-day event. 5% of those people had never been to the city of Las Vegas. And if you ask LVCVA, which we have, that's a really good number, that 5% had never been here before, and that they came for our event. In 2019, we anticipate this will be about 800 attendees with about 1,100 tickets sold over that entire weekend. So over these last 4 years, we've been working with the Fremont Street Experience and the LVCVA, and we've, kind of heard of the competition between Fremont Street and the Strip as to who's going to bring in the tourists. And we've learned that, history is really what a lot of people come to downtown Las Vegas for. And as you well know, the City of Las Vegas and the LVCVA did commission a study through R&R Partners that demonstrated that history, in fact, was one of the main reasons that tourists come to Fremont Street. So it's definitely a concern for us. We do, as part of Home and History, we have a neon bus tour. It's consistently sold out. It's one of the first ones that sells out. We also have a walking tour called the Magic Hour, which is when the neon comes on at night, and that is always the first walking tour to sell out too, as part of Home and History. So we have some concerns, but we also think that there's a way forward here. We are proposing some amendments here. We are asking that video signage be allowed on standing signs only in combination with other neon-like signage. And I should note, too, that there are LED, I believe, is what you can use to kind of mimic the look of neon. It's not exactly perfect, but it does give still that historic look. And as I understand, it's much less expensive. And we also ask that if you're going to have this full motion video, that those be mounted on the building instead of on the freestanding sign. We would also support reducing the percentage of illumination required from 75% to 50%. We think this would provide a lot more flexibility for businesses to incorporate this video signage, but that the full motion video signage would not be part of that 50%, as it is part of the 75% right now. And if you don't mind, I could show you a couple of examples of what we're thinking, if that's helpful. I'm not sure, is the overhead, does that?
Yeah, they're back there. They'll do it in a second.
Okay.
One second.
Is it up there?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
You can see it on your screen right there.
Not yet. Oh, there it is. Okay. So here we have the El Cortez sign, where you have the video here on the sign, and but we still have where at least 50% of this sign is still neon and still has that look. So it does provide a way to incorporate some motion into these signs. We also have the Stratosphere, which also has a very nice sign that has neon and neon-like elements, along with the video sign that has just down below it. This is building mounted. I believe that would count as building mounted. This would also allow a place like the Holiday Motel. They could take out this part and then put in a motion screen in there, because you would still have more than 50% of your sign would be neon. It would meet that requirement. And in this example here with Fun City, they could incorporate a sign here that would have motion in it if they would like. We did we did speak with the Fremont Street Experience, I believe is here. We met with Mr. Dakar, which I believe was kind of the impetus of this, and we met with him on Friday and had a really good meeting. He was going to try to be here, but I told him I would let you know what our conversation was about. He said, we stood outside and looked at his sign, and he said he was fine with 6-second clips. His clips that he currently has are 8 seconds. He said that would be no problem to trim them down. He also would be open to replacing some of the light bulbs with neon, and we'd be happy to work with him.
Can I interrupt you, Heidi, through you, Mr. Chairman? When you're representing what Dakar said, because he is a neighbor, did you mean he would trim down the moving portion of it? So he would show animated. It would be moving for 6 seconds as opposed to 8 seconds.
Yes, that is correct. We looked at his,
I don't want to have to make him legal but non-conforming, you know. He's not the only one, but...
Right, I believe that Mr. Cornthwaite was also had an issue, but with these amendments, his signs are building mounted, and actually have a very good example, and so it would be a different, because they are mounted on the building, the blade sign itself, which sticks out from the building, that has Inspire on it, that is almost entirely neon. But the signs that he has, the motion signs he has, are building mounted, so that would also be covered in this amendment.
Thank you.
But Mr. Dakar did seem that he was fine with cutting down them to 6 seconds, and I asked him if he might be willing to put some more neon up, and he thought it might save him some money, and I mean, we're happy to help him look into that and see if there's a path forward with that. We understand that small businesses need a little more flexibility. That's why I think reducing it from 75 to 50 would give them more flexibility. We also have the manager of Urban Adventures here, and she'll be talking a bit, and a local artist, Wendy Kvek, had hoped to be here, but she does express her support for this amendment.
Okay, thank you. Next.
My name is Rosalie Ledard. I'm at 1309 East Bridger. I'm speaking in support of Heidi and what she's proposed today with Nevada Preservation. I'm speaking not only as a concerned resident, I live downtown, of course, but also as a representative of the growing Las Vegas heritage tourism market, so I'm really happy about that. As Las Vegas City Manager for Urban Adventures, I should explain that Urban Adventures is a global day tripping brand, mostly walking tour experiences and small bus tour experiences, not unlike Heidi was describing with the Home and History program, but unlike the current MPF Home and History program, this is something that runs every day and is available for visitors the 365 days of the year. Currently, Urban Adventures runs 3 historic walking tour programs, but they're limited to the Arts District and Fremont Street. And what we're really excited about is the opportunity to link the Strip to the Fremont and downtown. And we believe that there's no other experience that's quite like that right now. I should say that this is Urban Adventures works in other cities within the United States, and preserving the character and taking visitors to these really significant but oft overlooked places has been the cornerstone of success in other American cities. Right now, Urban Adventures is doing similar programs in scenic areas and byways in Boston, Philadelphia, DC, and most recently Miami and Las Vegas. So when our group expanded to Las Vegas, one of the things that was most important was to really explore the city and look at these areas that are significant, but again, often overlooked. And we really felt that the Scenic Byway was a big, big attraction for visitors who were looking to do something new and ironically old in Las Vegas. In order to do that, this space has got to, it looks like no other space in the city. It needs to continue to be that way. And that's why we support the alternative recommendations for the full motion video signage as proposed by MPF. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so I just want to make sure
Please come back to the podium.
that the Assemblywoman and the chair and you with the amendments, does it fit everything? Because I'm a huge supporter of what you're asking, just because it is downtown, and I don't want smut there. I'll just put it like that.
Thank you for your
If I may.
thoughts on that one, because it's true.
I believe it does. The ordinance itself does not control content. So that would, but the ordinance has never controlled content. I do think that by having 6-second clips, it is a little bit shorter, but it does not speak to content. But I do think that it would meet the needs of Mr. Dakar as well as Mr. Cornthwaite and provide a bit of flexibility for the small business owners if we reduce that 75 to 50.
Our chairwoman is with the amendment.
So our major priorities is to preserve the original look of downtown. Mm-hmm. We want to preserve as much neon signage as possible. I don't really understand the reduction from, 8 to 6, so I don't know what that looks like. I am interested in that old neon signage being preserved realizing that new technologies are cheaper. We know that. But just the majority of a sign, as much neon signage as possible. So that's our priority. And that those major intersections can do the more fancy lighting. We don't want Las Vegas Boulevard and Flamingo in the downtown area. So we're asking for those kinds of things to be reserved for Fremont, Sahara, and Charleston.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Come on up.
Good morning. Ryan Arnold here today representing Fremont Street Experience. As it's written right now, we don't necessarily have a major issue with it, but we do have some concerns just as to what the unintended consequences could be. And we really were looking for an opportunity to sit with staff and go through some of that. Now that we have some proposed new language, in theory, we seem to be okay with it, but we want to see what our esteemed city attorney, how he would draft this language, and just make sure our board is comfortable with it. But we do like the direction that would take us, and as of now, we would support making changes like that, but reserve the right to comment once it's back before City Council.
All right, thank you. Anyone else want to comment? All right, I'll close public comment. Councilman Coffin, it looks like there's some amendments that are being recommended, so I'll let you go with it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think some of them can be adopted, too. I want to just ask Robert, though, to clarify. No, maybe it's Val, who would like to make sure that we understand this is only the scenic byway? Am I right or wrong on that?
Correct, Councilman, through you,
That
Mr.
incorporates
Chairman.
what streets are in the scenic byway?
So the scenic byway goes from Sahara up to Washington on Las Vegas Boulevard.
It does not include Fremont.
Correct. The intersection, obviously, of Fremont, but it does not include the Fremont corridor itself, no.
Okay, so, thank you very much. I think that limits, so hopefully, some people understand this change would only apply to that street. It's also in consideration because that happens to be a slow-speed street. My main concern before trying to help the businesses there was to make sure that whatever went up in full motion would not be distractive at high speed, as we do not allow this stuff on arterials and freeways. So, you know, that's, I think I'm satisfied with that if the committee is. The issue of the percentage and the time limit makes sense, except for one thing. I'd like to think that we all could hold on to the past, but there's a cost. And so if we are to create a mandate, which somebody did, I don't know when that happened, when this byway and those ordinances were created, they definitely did not think of the future expense to maintain a declining industry, except for where it's got its niche. So what we can do, though, as has been brought up about the VIP program, I don't know whether I just don't think we can put this in a bill, but I think if we encourage people who come forward for permits that they can apply to meet, if they meet the requirements to our VIP. There's no guarantee it'll be issued. That might help with businesses who are going to do this in the future. I don't think we can mandate that we give out the money, but that was an unintended consequence in the very beginning and an unfunded mandate on the people who own the businesses. It was a recognition, or a lack of recognition, I think, that there is progress and things do change. Who would have thought? So again, Heidi, if you wanted to just say again, the compromises would be 50% and it to be incorporated in a sign which has neon, and that would be 50% neon, 50%. And how do we escape the problem our inspectors have? This is for staff again. Hang in there. Our inspectors literally measure by the square inch on some stuff and by the square foot on really big stuff. So how do we avoid the beefing that's going to go on when you get down to a lock-in number? Can we phrase it in such a way that there's a little wiggle room?
So, Mr. Chairman, through you, so Councilman, when we do the plans review, our measurement calculations are all in code. It's very clear cut on how we would measure the square footage and determine the applicability of the animated or neon versus the non-animated or neon. So I don't really think that there's a whole lot of question there. The big question is, I think there were two pieces of what the Assemblywoman proposed. One is, do we reduce the illumination down from currently it's required at 75% of the sign to be illuminated down to 50%? And then if you make that adjustment, do you then exclude if they do a changeable message unit sign, and I believe I'm saying this correctly, that is that uses the full motion video, then that doesn't qualify as part of your 50% of your illumination. So that is a difference between how we calculate things now. But in terms of measuring the square footage, I think that's pretty consistent with the way our code works now. If we made that adjustment, that it should not create any consternation for either our reviewers or for the community.
Okay, as long as we don't inch them to death, though, that's the main thing. As long as the commonly accepted signage sizes will qualify, then I think we're okay there. So that would be good.
Yeah, I think that we agree
I'll
with
accept
that.
that amendment, Assemblywoman Swank.
So,
And the other one was,
right, so the reduction in the percentage from 75 to 50%?
yeah, and the time of animation, length of time, elapsed time,
Right.
6 seconds.
Yeah, so then I believe we would be, and let me know if I'm misspeaking, that if this clips were 6 seconds or shorter, that could be on a freestanding sign, such as what we have with Mr. Dakar's business. But if they're mounted on the building, they are not considered to be part of that sign, the freestanding sign. Am I 6 seconds or longer? Sorry, thank you.
Now,
Always
let
good
me
to
ask
have.
a question of staff. Does that mean then that a person could put any size sign animated on the side of their building?
No, so through you, Mr. Chairman, no, Councilman, so they would still be restrained by whatever the applicable sign restrictions are for that zoning district. So whatever, well, essentially 20% of the wall. So if they do a wall sign, which can be 20% of the elevation of that particular frontage, if they were to do that as a full 20%, then based on this change, 50% of that sign or 10% of the elevation would have to include illumination, which could include a changeable message unit sign.
Could or not?
Could, yes. It's all a could, because it all depends
Okay.
on the nature of what the owner would like to do
I
with
think
their
those are
business.
reasonable amendments. Thank you.
And I think for us, it's really the key part is that we would like to see 50% of the sign be neon or neon-like. I'd say that also, I know neon is quite expensive, but there is an LED version that mimics that, I believe, and that is much less expensive than actual neon, that gives much of the same look and maintains that kind of historic nature.
Well, okay, that begs the question then. Do we recognize this LED lighting source as a substitute for neon?
We do. So we have a number of signs that we've approved that are in the byway that use the LED
If
versus
somebody's in the neon business, they should be looking for business.
Yeah, and a lot of the newer signs actually are using the faux neon, which is essentially the
Faux
LED
neon, okay.
substitute.
All right.
You have a motion?
Then I move for approval, unless the committee has further questions.
So are we moving to approve with all the amendments?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Val, you guys have the specific amendments as part of this motion? Because I'm assuming we're bringing this back to the city council with the amendments, right? So are you clear on the amendments?
If it's possible, I'd like to bring them back to the committee for this reason. I'm not sure that I can word it to make everyone in the room happy, and I would like the opportunity to have, historic preservation, Ms. Swank be able to see the language first, staff be comfortable. I don't think that we should be, I think it would be beyond the scope of this ordinance to generally reduce that 75% to 50. It should be limited to those times when someone wants to take advantage of the exemption that was proposed in this ordinance. So, in other words, if you want to avail yourself of the different percentage, it's going to be just because you want to use full motion video. Let's just bring it to council. And it's going to be a little complicated to put that down in writing.
Okay, I agree with you. So maybe we could obey this again till November 5th, Councilman Coughlin, and That gives a chance for Val and you guys to work on it. Everybody down there can take a look at the exact language. There's no ambiguity. This isn't an emergency, and then we can bring it to the city council after that. Is that
And
cool?
Mr. Chairman, that would give me an opportunity to present it to our Historic Preservation Commission, which has had some robust discussion about this, as evidenced by the chair coming out this morning. So if that is amenable to the sponsor, you would have planning staff support as well.
It would be if we instruct our inspectors to not go up and down the boulevard and look at signs that might be moving and then say you're out of code and cite them. Let's give them a honeymoon for a month until we bring this to council.
Mr. Chairman, so Councilman, yeah, so we have a lot of other priorities right now. That is not a priority for us to inspect the boulevard.
You'd be amazed, Robert.
So we have this ordinance in the works. We will.
Those square inches are out there.
You have a motion?
I move to obey this till the November 5th meeting.
Okay, we have a motion. Go ahead and vote. And post it. Okay, so you'll have plenty of time to look over the language and come back on November 5th and let us know if everything's cool or not. All right, thanks for coming down.
Okay.
Okay. We are now off to item number 5, possible action generally prohibits the feeding of wild pigeons, sponsored by Councilwoman Tarkanian. So who's going to lead off this discussion?
I think I'm going to take a shot at it. I'm so emotional about pigeons, apparently, I've lost my voice. The city of Henderson adopted something like this several years ago. It became interesting to Councilman Ross when he was still on the council. The county tried once to have it adopted, and it failed. They came back and had generally adopted what Henderson had adopted within the last year or so. So the several members of council expressed an interest in bringing this forward. It ended up being by agreement a sponsorship by Councilwoman Tarkanian. It defines wild pigeon. The ordinances that we use as the model, Henderson and Clark County, did not have a definition, but I thought it might be appropriate to have one, so it defines wild pigeon by species, including some of the nicknames that it goes by, and then generally prohibits the feeding of wild pigeons on public private property or private residential property. It describes what it means by food in providing food to them, and then allows for an exemption if you get a permit under Title VII, which is our animal provisions. Presumably, there would be a permit for some kind of demonstration where that requirement would be waived.
Flying rat, you put that in there?
I did. It wasn't my idea. I just grabbed it.
All right, so I'll go ahead and open up the public comment. Anybody want to comment on this ordinance?
You guys have fun behind the scenes.
Okay, all right, you have a motion, Councilman Fiore?
I have a question.
Oh, you have
If
a
I could.
question? Go ahead.
Yeah, it looks like, what if you accidentally feed these wild pigeons in your backyard because you're feeding your cats, and they prey on that food? What do we do?
That's a good question. I do think that our animal control division and others who might enforce this, which conceivably could be Metro or possibly code enforcement, would probably provide a warning before they would write a citation. I don't think these would be real popular items in court.
So I just want to make sure we don't, for the heck of it, just pass an ordinance that we know we aren't going to enforce. That's kind of out of our purview. But I think it may be.
No, it'll be enforced, and I have faith in our law enforcement people that if somebody accidentally feeds a pigeon, they're not going to throw them in the hooch for that, so we'll probably give them a warning. So I don't have any problems with that.
There's a wild, I'd like to just ask you a question because you like this bill. If, literally it's a stray, in other words, it could be a stray, and it won't enter a stray pigeon, but I don't know if there are any pigeon fanciers here. They may consider certain breeds of pigeons to be extremely rare and wild, but yet hobbyists cultivate them. So what do? Do we make sure that they're exempt, or do we have to make them exempt? Are they okay?
I don't I can't imagine that a pigeon fancier would be using one of these particular pigeons, but I suppose it's possible.
I don't know what to think. I'm so used to them around my house. I'm not going to make a motion on this one.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Yes, I motion to approve.
All right, go ahead and vote.
What do we do?
Okay, motion passes unanimously, and this item will go to, just make sure I got the right
I
one,
reserve the right to duck on the day.
October 17th, City Council meeting. That's when the City Council will hear this one. Thank you very much. That's a bad joke.
There goes Chapman.
All right, bill number 2018-42 for possible action amends LVMC Chapter 11.10 to authorize the Parking Services Division to enter in agreements with the owners or leases of certain types of parking lots or parking structures to provide parking enforcement services, sponsored by Councilman Cedric Creer. Who's going to talk on this? Nobody? Hi, Brandy. Come on down. Tell us what this is about.
Good morning, Council. Brandy Stanley, Parking Services Manager for the City of Las Vegas. What this ordinance does, it allows us to enter onto private property and provide parking enforcement services for private property owners. This came forward as the result of a request from our partners in the community to enforce their parking lots, mostly because we're very good at what we do. We standardize our enforcement. People know what to expect when we enter a property, and there really aren't any very good enforcement alternatives for private property owners for parking in their parking lots and garages.
Okay, any questions up here? Yes.
So is this ordinance because folks are parking on private property when they shouldn't be parking in private property?
Mostly what it is a result of a request, because there are some property owners that have parking garages and paid parking lots and other facilities that people may park where they're not authorized, or they may park and not pay the parking meter, or they may park illegally, like take up 2 spaces or block a travel lane. And we're best equipped to be able to enforce those types of violations on private property.
Yes.
Thank you. Brandy, I did read the preambles, and I think it makes sense what you're doing. You're putting them in there because it is a public policy to try to have enough parking, even though downtown we've been allowing people to do just about anything with no parking minimum requirement. I want to know if you think that the split that's usually reached, it's not specified in the ordinance, so it's like usually a 50% split of the revenues. Is that how it works with these? We have to have some method of reimbursing ourselves and making a profit.
So with these particular agreements in general, what we would be proposing, again, it's not in the ordinance, so we would be able to change it if we wanted to, is a 75-25 split, 75% to the city and 25% to the owner.
Well, have you tried people with that formula? I know some of them are 50-50 right now, so how are they doing with 75-25? And I mean, some people think that that's agreeable to them?
I do. Because we don't have the enabling ordinance in place yet, we haven't had those conversations with some of the private property owners. Our agreement that we're working on with the El Cortez is a 50-50 split, mostly because that's what we've had in place with them for a few years. In terms of what it's going to work out at with the other private property owners, we're going with 75-25 mostly because we don't have the same authority as we do under municipal code. So we're not going to be able to hold people's registrations or put them on an immobilization list. So we know that our collection rate is not going to be as high as it typically is.
So then, just one last question on that. Then if we have contracts, oral or written, with these other people, how long before we would want to move them into the 75-25?
We don't have any because we don't have the municipal code authority. So anything that you see from us under this new ordinance is going to be a completely new contract.
Oh, I see. All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'll open up to the public. Anyone from the public want to speak on this item? All right, do I have a motion up here?
Move for approval.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Go ahead and vote. And post, motion carries unanimously. This will be heard at the, this will be heard at the October 3rd City Council meeting.
Thank you very much.
All right. Item number 7, possible action annexation, property location on the northwest corner of Jones Boulevard, La Madre, petition by YIEE 2009 Irrevocable Trust, 3.72 acres, zoned RE, sponsored by Stavros Anthony. Anyone, you want to comment on this?
Mr. Chairman, this is an owner-initiated annexation. Everything is in order, and staff would recommend approval.
Very good. This is a public hearing. Anyone from the public want to speak on this? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. I'll go ahead. Okay, there's a motion to approve. Go ahead and vote. All right, thank you. That motion carries unanimously. That item will be heard at the October 17th City Council meeting. Item number 8, citizen participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the committee. Anybody want to say anything during citizen participation? All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job.